Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, jambo, bienvenidos. Hi, my name is Jed Lee, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast, coming to you from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. We are so happy that you are part of our beautiful Reading with Your Kids family. Please be sure to subscribe to the show on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you find your podcasts. We are welcoming podcasting legend Mur Lafferty to tell us about her brand new novel, the very first Minecraft novel, The Last Journal. Before Mur joins us and exposes how little I know about video games, I want to let you know that this episode of the podcast is brought to you by Megan Meehan's 8-week online children's book writing class. It is about to start. If you are interested in being a children's author, you want to get in touch with Megan right away. You can call or text her directly. 845-538-0516. I'm letting you know that number right up front because I want you to get in touch with Megan. Megan is a published novelist, poet, producer, playwright, and screenwriter. You heard her on the show not too long ago celebrating her latest children's book, Avila'S Adventure, a delightful tale of a Brazilian parent who moves to New York City. Now, this is why you want to be a part of this class. Everything happens online. You learn at your own pace and at your own schedule. Each student can expect to complete a short story in the kidlit genre, and all stories will then be professionally illustrated and published on Smart Kids Club. For more information, please email Megan directly at mehanms@aol.com, or like I said, you can call or text her at 845-538-0516. This episode of the podcast is also being sponsored by Noahsaurus by Elaine Kylie Kearns. Do you know someone who's a Noahsaurus? Is your child a Noahsaurus? Does your child ever have one of those days where they wake up and their answer to everything is no? Well, have I got a picture book for you. Noahsaurus by Elaine Kylie Kearns. Noahsaurus woke up feeling very no. No to brushing his teeth, no to eating, and definitely no to playing with his little brother. Things only get worse when Noah goes for a walk and the relentlessly cheerful Toby Rex, Brian Brontosaurus, and Ava Ceratops follow him. Together, the group starts a bona fide dino parade that even Noah can't resist. This lighthearted, whimsical story will have readers laughing along at Noah and his friends, as well as their own bad moods. This hilarious book pairs two of little kids' favorite things, saying no and dinosaurs. Adults can also relate to waking up on the wrong side of the bed and feeling very no. Noahsaurus is available on Amazon and at Elaine's website, ElaineKylieKearns.com. It's Noahsaurus by Elaine Kylie Kearns. And we also want to let you know that this episode of the podcast is sponsored by The Nature Club. The Nature Club, a series of nature-based books for middle grade readers by author and wildlife biologist Rachel Mazer. The Nature Club is made up of a diverse group of 5 friends. Each book in the series tells the story of one of the kids and how they approach a challenge of growing up. Now, these challenges include moving, parents divorcing, and health issues. These stories run in parallel with stories about wildlife and the challenges wildlife face, including migration, metamorphosis, and foraging for seasonal foods. Each book ends with the kids finding ways to take simple actions to help themselves and the wildlife they love. Readers learn about the natural history of birds, monarch butterflies, bears, raccoons, frogs, and bobcats. At the end of each book, there are discussion questions and a selection of additional information about the featured animal. For more information about this really super book that'll help your kids, that will inspire a love of nature in your kids, please visit The Nature Club Books on Facebook or Instagram, or on the internet at natureclubbooks.com. Joining us on the line right now from the beautiful state of North Carolina, she is the author of the brand new Minecraft novel called The Last Journal. Please welcome to the show, Mur Lafferty. Mur, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
I also was just mentioning to Mur, and I just discovered this. Mur is an inaugural inductee into the Podcast Academy Hall of Fame. So congratulations for that. I'm really jealous.
Thank you. Yeah, I was the Podcast Academy established the Hall of Fame in 2015, and I was one of their part of their first group of inductees.
It's amazing how this thing we call podcast has grown over the years. It's really exploding.
Oh yeah,
And,
yeah.
And how does it feel being, I imagine, one of the first kind of into it, to dip your toes into podcasting? What's your feeling as you're seeing everybody having their own podcast and podcasting platforms springing up all over the world?
Oh, it's interesting. It's a little overwhelming. You get a little bit of the old man shouts at cloud syndrome of the that's not how we used to do it kind of thing. But you want it to evolve. So don't really expect the way we did it in 2005 to really be around these days. So I was just glad to be part of it before even Apple knew what the word was. So yeah, it's evolved a lot. Mm-hmm. It's been a little weird seeing the corporate podcast mm-hmm. kind of dwarf the indie podcaster, but it's not like we didn't see that coming. So yeah. But it's still fun to be part of it. So I'm so proud.
That was one of the things my wife, our show was nominated for the iHeartRadio Best Kids and Family Podcast Award.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and it was really fun to go out to the awards ceremony and everything. My wife came out and we walked the red carpet and everything. But the thing that blew my wife away is, she knows I do this podcast down in the basement. So she comes down and she hears these one-sided conversations, and it's kind of weird for her, but it's, I stay out of her hair. And I think that was her image of what podcasts are. And then we get out to L.A. and every other podcast was produced by a network. And they had a mm-hmm. big team. And she goes, why are you here with these people? And I said, I don't know, but I'm glad we're here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us about the Lost Journals.
Yeah, The Lost Journals is a story about two kids in the overworld of the Minecraft universe who find a mysterious journal written by someone who was really into enchanting, but they discover the person may not have been a very good enchanter, but they were very, very excited about enchanting. And so the kids try to follow some of the enchanter's guidance to good and bad situations, and then they discover that the enchanter is probably trapped in the Nether right now. And so they develop a plan to go and rescue the enchanter. So they have to learn who wrote the journal and why they're so bad at enchanting and how they got into the Nether. And when they get to the Nether, they run across another kid who lives there with her wolf. And she helps them out a lot with fighting and maybe understanding a couple of the interpersonal issues they are dealing with.
Wow, it's fascinating. This isn't, the whole kind of Minecraft universe. I was talking to Mur beforehand. If my son was here, he'd be absolutely aware of what Minecraft is and all the ins and outs. I'm not. I'm aware that it's a game, and it's I guess you can play it online and with Nintendo and things like. I don't even know if Nintendo's around anymore, but
yes, it is. There are several different platforms you can play it. The interesting thing about Minecraft is it is essentially an open world building game. When my writer friends found out I was doing a Minecraft book, they said, how are you going to write that? Because there's no story in Minecraft. There's no government. There's no hero. There's no descriptive. It's just you spawn as a person who happens to be square and live in a square world, and then you start building. You gather the things around you and you build, and if you see a monster, you fight it, and you keep building, and you get more and better things, and you keep building, and if you're really, really creative, then you'll build these magnificent structures, and if you're me, then you'll really hope you just build something that the creepers can't blow up. That's one of the monsters. Uh-huh. But see, what that gave me was pretty much a blank check. As long as my story was within the rules of the world, I could write whatever I wanted. So I just came up with a plot for some kids having an adventure and made sure it fit within the Minecraft world and ran with it. And it was a lot of fun to write.
I was going to say, it sounds like it would be really fun to write, just having that freedom to just let your imagination take you wherever.
Yeah, but it's funny that I ran into some unexpected constraints with the team. Things you don't think about, like, well, I couldn't have any food in the book that you're not able to cook in the game.
Uh-huh.
So there were little things like that, couldn't have any tools in the book that weren't in the game. And so I had to make sure to follow every single gaming rule, including the one where if you tell your dog to sit and then you move far away and then you call your dog, they can teleport to your side. So I used that in the book, which was a convenient way to get your dog across a lake of lava. But, they let me play with all of the easy fixes to the world, such as teleporting dogs and health potions that heal you immediately, as long as I, made sure that I didn't create food that didn't exist or anything.
Phenomenal. This is just, I'm imagining it, and it just sounds like so much fun. So this is an official novel. It's kind of blessed by the Minecraft folks?
Yes, they had to approve everything from the outline of the book to the final draft.
I guess a normal question for an old fart like me who's not familiar with the gaming world. Why would a gaming company want to launch a novel?
Because people really, really like to tell stories, and they like to tell stories. One of the best things about games like Minecraft or other RPG games with more plot is people end up telling stories within the game, no matter how much story they're handed as part of the game. And so when you give them a novel, you give them another story that they may not have encountered or thought up themselves. For a more established overall universe, such as World of Warcraft, they have established royalty and heroes. And so you can take a story, you can take a hero or prince or princess, and create a story about them. And then people pick it up and they're like, oh, it's that hero that I came across in that game. And this is their entire story. And it's just, more stories in these worlds that people love.
I love that. Here, this is, the Reading with Your Kids podcast are all about inspiring families to, we starting off with reading more together. But as kids grow older, that it's so easy with the little ones to just curl up on a couch with a book and get them to sit and read together. But it's a little bit more challenging as the kids get older. And I imagine that for this would have been perfect for my son who was into gaming, and it would be a great way to kind of encourage reading, but also just get the family into sharing stories and creating stories together around the game and that world and universe.
Exactly. And when you do something like this with your kid, if you don't play the game, that opens up, it lets you understand a little bit more of what they're getting into, and it lets you understand a little bit more about what they love about it. Mm-hmm. And they'll be able to talk to you about it a little bit more without you glazing over going, I have no idea what they're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I had I remember many dinner conversations when I would ask my son, what is this? And he would just go off on tangents telling me like little details about, well, he wears a shoe and the shoelace has to be exactly so. And my eyes would just glaze over and I would have no idea what he was talking about. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this is, I love this. This would have been a great resource for my family because it would have made it easier for me to relate to him and to share this thing that he loves so much.
Yeah, I hope that a lot of people with kids who love the game will check it out. Another reason why companies would want to do this is, getting kids who maybe are a little bit too much into video games to get them to expand into reading by showing them a world that they already know and love.
And that is very, very admirable. I guess the cynic in me is thinking, do they really want to get kids reading, or are they just doing this to kind of appease any critics that might be out there that say kids play too much time with video games?
Well, I bet the publisher of the book wants to get kids reading, and that's why they partner with the computer game company.
Absolutely. Is this your first time taking a video game and creating a story for a print book?
Yes, it's my second licensed book, but it's my first video game book. I also wrote the novelization to the Solo movie last year. So I did Star Wars, and then it was Minecraft.
How does creating something, taking something that exists and creating new stories around that, how is that? Is that something that you prefer over starting with a blank state and coming up with your own universe, or do you really prefer starting from scratch?
I don't know if there are good and bad parts to both. It's, I don't really compare them. It's to sound completely mercenary. It's, it's part of it is when it came along, it was the right thing for me at that time. And I was familiar with Minecraft, and I've always been a big gamer. And when Solo came along, I would give my canine teeth to work right in the Star Wars universe. So of course, but, I haven't stopped doing my own stuff, and I do enjoy it a great deal. So there's a lot of, different things. When you're writing in somebody else's world, there are already rules in place, which some people think you would chafe against, but honestly, it frees you in a way that you don't have to worry about certain aspects of the plot because it's already decided for you. Mm-hmm. So you don't have to worry about, are there dragons in this universe? Well, somebody's already decided that. Yes, there are, or no, there aren't. And you're able to think purely about the story you want to write and less so about the world building. In some cases, you're writing about established characters. So you only have to worry about how do I expand their inner thoughts and personality in a direction that's everybody will expect it to go, instead of Han Solo would never say that kind of thing. So, but then, you want to write your own characters in your own settings. You want to be, it's an honor to have written in these worlds, but when I'm dead, I want them to say, hey, Mur Lafferty created this amazing world, instead of Mur Lafferty wrote a really good Star Wars story. So, it's good to diversify, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm. Would you suggest if there's a family out there and the parents, the caregivers know that they have a child that really enjoys writing but is kind of stuck, would encouraging them to write this kind of, I hear the term fan fiction, starting in a universe that exists and kind of creating their own stories within that universe, would that be a kind of a good beginning exercise for those young writers?
Absolutely. Yes, definitely. Fan fiction gets a bad rap, and I don't understand why, because when beginning painters start, they're handed the masters, and they're said to study the brush strokes, and they're said, see if you can replicate what this master did. But when we start writing, no one hands you a short story and says, see what you can take from this universe and make of your own. I mean, but that's a copyright violation. Mm-hmm. And so, you can't think of your own world, so people look down on it. As long as you're not selling the fan fiction, then I fully believe that you should write as much as you want, because a lot of people learn so much about writing from the safety of fan fiction. Because again, if you feel unsure about character building, but you really want to make a neat universe, then grab the characters in Harry Potter and throw them into your universe. Mm-hmm. Who cares?
Absolutely.
Or if you really feel good about your characters, but not the universe, then throw a whole bunch of new people into Hogwarts and see what happens. I mean, there's nothing, just, don't sell it. That's the big thing.
Right.
I cannot, as a writer, advocate that. But really, it helps so many people learn how to write. And I hate the stigma on fan fiction because I think it's an excellent idea. And I was doing it in my day before the word fan fiction, or before I knew it existed or not. I just thought, hey, I really like this series. I want to write a story in it. So.
Yeah. Cool. I know we've had a guest on who in high school was writing fan fiction, and I think she told me she had 50 or 60,000 followers for her fan fiction.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. Well, you said you wanted folks to remember kind of the universes that you created. So can you tell us some of those universes and some of those books that you've created?
Sure. This is my first middle grade book, so I worry for your audience these may not be what they're looking for, but I have a science fiction thriller murder mystery called 6 Wakes that came out a couple of years ago, and that's probably my best known book. It got nominated for a couple of awards, and before that I had an urban fantasy series about a young woman who has to write travel books for cities catering to monsters. So if you're a vampire and you want to go to New Orleans, where's the best place to stay? Where's the best place to get blood? Things like that. So, I wrote a couple of books about her. So, and I have another murder mystery I'm working on right now, science fiction murder mystery.
Well, I mean, I definitely, one of the things I love doing is bringing in guests that have books that high school kids and college kids would really enjoy, and that a parent would really enjoy, and that they can sit down and talk about, form their own family book club.
Yeah.
Because I think,
that would be great.
Yeah,
I'm all for that.
That's such a great way to, to continue to encourage our kids to read and to learn, to model for them, and also just to model the idea of reading for joy. And, especially kids in high school and college, there's so much that they have to read that they're assigned that's boring. It becomes a chore. It's a great reminder that reading is really fun.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So tell folks where they can connect with Mur Lafferty, find out more about the Lost Journals, the the middle grade Minecraft book, and your other books.
My website is murverse.com. That's MURVERSE. And that's where it's basically the home place for all of my stuff, including my podcasts and my novels and licensed and original stuff. So that's the one-stop shop for everything.
Excellent. So just tell us real quick about your podcast. We just absolutely have to give that a plug.
Oh, I have I have 3 shows actually. One is my oldest one, which is called I Should Be Writing, which is a podcast for beginners who maybe are a little bit too easily thrown by the common hurdles that writers come across, but you feel like you're the only one that ever got a rejection, or you're the only one that ever got a rude rejection or whatever. It's basically telling people that everybody goes through it. And that, and then I have a podcast about the business side of writing, where I talk more about agents and editors and publicity and dealing with fans and all of that, with my friend writer Matt Wallace, and that's called Ditch Diggers. And then I'm the co-editor of a science fiction short story podcast where we do one free short story every week called Escape Pod.
Excellent. And you can connect with all of those great podcasts and also Mur's books on murverse.com. We've been speaking today to the author of The Lost Journals, the Minecraft novel, Mur Lafferty. Mur, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me. This was fun.
Please be sure to join us for the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Our guest will be Laura Knight. She is returning to the podcast to let us know about her Friendly Planet Club and also let us know about her brand new book, Kid Astronaut. That is the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. In a moment, we're going to be thanking our sponsors, the folks who made today's show possible. If you're the author of a great children's book, you may want to be a sponsor of a future episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. This is a fantastic and very affordable way to let thousands and thousands of people know about your great children's book. Packages include commercials on the podcast, blasts out to our social media following, and handouts to kids who attend my live educational magic shows. You can learn more by getting in touch with our producer, Peggy Cotto, at peggy@readingwithyourkids.com. And now it's time to thank the folks who made today's show possible. First, we want to thank our guest, Mur Lafferty. Be sure to check out everything you can find at her Murverse. It really is a fascinating website, and you can also learn about the last journals. Really, really good stuff. We also want to thank our sponsors, Megan Meehan. Her class is just about to start. You can become a published author in just a few weeks with Megan Meehan's online children's book writing class. We also want to thank Elaine Kylie Kearns. Check out Noah Source. And of course, we want to thank Rachel Mazer. Her series, The Nature Club, really is fantastic and can help inspire your kid to develop a brand new love of reading and a love of nature. I also want to thank my producer, Fatima Khan. Be sure to check out her blog. She writes a blog for every episode of the show, giving you some insight into the show. You can find that at our website, readingwithyourkids.com. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support that she gives me, and I want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. Thank you so much for connecting with us online. On Facebook, we're facebook.com/readingwithyourkids. You can find us on Twitter @MagicJedley, and you can find us on Instagram @ReadingWithYourKids. I also want to thank you so much for making the world a better place, and you do that every time you take the time to read with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.